Who are you?
Who are we? We're Stanly Avengers Incorporated. And these are our avatars, Amos and Annie. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization founded in November of 2021.
What are you presenting?
We present the Kingville Project.
What's that?
This is a conservation, preservation, celebration campaign.
What's that?
As far as conservation, our organization, along with families, businesses, and citizens, have partnered with Adopt a Street programs in our city and formed quarterly cleanup drives to form over 100 strong volunteers dedicated to clean up local areas and schools. We've done this since April of 2022, and we've given schools of more than 20 streets in our communities and neighborhoods a much-needed facelift.
Quarterly cleanup campaigns, that's awesome. When was your last one?
Our last quarterly community cleanup was this past October 28th, and what we do every cleanup, we meet around 9 o'clock for donuts, coffee, orange juice. This is a chance for us to meet and greet and tell each other why we're here and why we want to continue this movement. Around 9:30, we have a united community prayer, after which we divide into groups. Then we clean up the community to around 12 o'clock. Then after which, we bring any extra supplies back to our meeting point.
Myself and the Stanly Avengers started the Kingville Project. It's a conservation, preservation, celebration concept. So, different.
What's the next phase?
Second phase of the Kingville Project is preservation. This is a campaign aimed to raise funds to erect historical preservation markers for forgotten and often overlooked significant historical people, places, and things from the African American community. Our goal is to preserve the first African American school building in Kingville, North Carolina, which has been submitted for nomination as a historic site in Stanly County.
Why preservation markers?
Well, we want to have preservation markers to honor sites and advocates who fought for equal rights to land, religion, and education in Stanly County. This example of a Rosenwald School preservation marker.
Here are a few examples of the historic markers already placed in and around Albemarle and what's considered historic district places in Albemarle.
This is the newly found documented site of the Stanly County Colored Normal and Collegiate Institute, also known as the Kingville Color School, or the Kingville School, the Kingville Rosenwald School, some documents the Stanly County Training School. Regardless of the name, they were all located at 1073 Lundix Street in the community of Kingville in Albemarle, North Carolina. This is also the site of what elders call the Old Schoolhouse, also located at 1073 Lundix Street within the community of Kingville in Albemarle, North Carolina. In 1907, Henry Brooks, Richard Wall, Joe Wall Jr., Sandy Burns, and Sandy Tyson joined together to form the Secretary of Board of Trustees for the Stanly County Colored Normal and Collegiate Institute.
How do you know?
Here's the deed from 1907 from the Stanly County Colored Normal and Collegiate Institute Board of Trustees. Here are a few of the significant advocates of the old schoolhouse. In 1922, when it was called the Kingville Colored School, you had Professor and Principal R.S. Graves. In 1926, when it was called the Stanly County Training School, you had Principal E.H. Miller. In 1927, you had Principal J.M. Williams. And 1927 through 1928, William Henry Wall was elected president of the Parent Teachers Association. From 1931 to 1936, Principal H.C. Gore ran the Stanly County Training School at 1073 Lundix Street. And when they opened a new school at 621 Wall Street, Principal Gore ran the new Kingville High School from 1937 to 1944.
Discussion we got into because I've been doing research on trying to find the schools before Kingville High School.
Okay.
And I found out about the old schoolhouse on Lundix. And some people even say there was another elementary school on Lundix. And I was thinking there was another high school before Kingville High School.
No.
But you corrected me on that.
No.
And just explain, why wasn't there a high school before Kingville High School?
Because my sisters, Emma and Margie Thomas, we all grew up together, and they would take me to this building up on Lundix, and it was a big room, and you know, most of the classes would go like from first kindergarten, first, second, third, you know, and there wasn't a high school. I remember that. There was never a high school there.
Why not?
Because it was just a house. It was like a school house, not a school building, but a house.
Okay.
It was just a little, you know, place they called school.
So did a lot of people just drop out after 8th or 9th grade? Is that why they didn't go to high school?
They didn't have a high school.
What do you mean?
That's as far as they went.
So there wasn't a high school to go to?
No.
Because I hear stories about, you know, my grandma saying she just went as far as 8th grade and my grandfather went as far as 9th grade, but I'm thinking they dropped out.
No, it wasn't no high school.
There wasn't
That's
a high
why
school.
they built Kingville High School to make it go all the way to the 12th grade. So that's when I came to go to school. I began to go to school. When my sisters went all the way to the school, you know, how far ever they went up from first to the 8th or 9th grade, then they finished in the brick building.
So it's not that they dropped out.
Mm-mm.
They didn't have nowhere to drop into.
We all had to finish high school. My dad wouldn't hear of it.
But your dad didn't have an opportunity because there wasn't a high school for him to go to?
Mm-mm.
Got you. Okay. Now that makes sense. It's not that they dropped out. They didn't have a high school to go to.
No high school
and Kingville High was the first high school for blacks in Albemarle, correct?
That's it.
Okay. Gotcha. Now that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. That's why they call it Kingville High.
They
could have said Kingville School.
You're right.
But they said Kingville High.
After Gore, E. Waddell was principal of Kingville High School until 1963, and B.K. Williams was principal until its closing in 1968. The goal of the preservation phase of the Kingville Project is to simply preserve the old schoolhouse and whatever we have left of Kingville, and the model it set then and still can set now as a sustainable historic community in Albemarle, North Carolina.
So there's conservation and preservation. What's the celebration phase?
2023 marks the 125th anniversary since Kingville was established as a community. Notice the historic map of Kingville from 1898 through 1967. Kingville was once a self-sustainable community with its own doctor, a gas station, a grocery store, schools, library, churches, a park, beauty salons, barbershops, a laundromat, a mason lodge, sportsman club, essentially its own economically mobile entity, separate from the city of Albemarle. The celebration phase of the Kingville Project consists of commemorating the 125th anniversary of Kingville as a historic site and a sustainable African American community, while emphasizing the importance of education and economic mobility in the future, with quarterly workshops on financial literacy, generational wealth, second chance employment, STEAM education for students, and mental and health awareness for adults. These programs will foster community pride, unity, self-identity, and self-accountability, also along with our annual history programs we hold every February.
What are the community workshops about?
In phase 1 of the economic mobility workshops, we'll continue strategy workshops with the Department of Corrections, North Carolina Works, Stanly Community College, Second Chance Employers, and the new Reentry Council to effectively address and solve inequity to access to services and opportunities for displaced workers due to transition from prison, being between jobs, or just looking for new employment. In phase 2 of the economic mobility workshops, we'll run workshops on community asset building, including credit repair, becoming first-time homeowners, and revitalization. We're going to address 2-generational whole family approaches for increasing economic self-sufficiency and how to start an LLC. During the STEAM education workshops, we'll introduce and identify the needs of youth in rural communities not exposed to the high quality of education of STEAM and coding programs that are focused on science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. For the mental health awareness workshops, we'll partner with health organizations focused on providing resources for individuals who may historically ignore the need for therapy, checkups, emergency prevention, and long-term effects of childhood trauma.
How long have you hosted your annual history programs?
Well, we had our first Stanly County Black History Program in February 2022 at the YMCA Pavilion. This past February 2023, we had our Stanly County Black History Program at the E. Waddell Center.
Let's get back to our future. To heal those wounds that are no longer confusing us or abusing us. Let's just get back used to us being united we stand, because divided we'll fall for almost anything.
What other volunteer programs, events, and services are Stanly Avengers involved with?
Thanksgiving, we're involved in a program to give away 40 free family dinners. This past October, we were also asked to be a part of Stanly County's first Reentry Council. This Reentry Council will help men and women return to Stanly County after incarceration, re-enter our communities, and become healthy, successful, law-abiding neighbors and citizens. This past Halloween, we participated in the trick-or-treat costume contest in downtown Albemarle, giving away free games to thousands of kids in attendance. That was fun. Our continued efforts have reached out as far as Montgomery, Moore, Randolph, Richmond, Stanly, and surrounding counties. So much so that we've been invited to be panelists at the 2023 Black Journey Continues Summit in Troy, North Carolina on November 25th to discuss how we can replicate our projects to other communities. Who are we? We're Stanly Avengers Incorporated. And these are our avatars, Amos and Annie. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization founded in November of 2021.